Hello, Rabbi. How are you doing? Oh, you're on mute or not?
Yeah.
Somebody may be joining us in the class. I'm not sure. Looks like he wants to learn some Torah. Oh.
Well, it's called the pre-application. Yep. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Yeah, you know what? I'm now going. I have a 4:30 call that I'm actually sitting. I have my friend here, a friend here, ready to study with. So, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go jump off. Very good conversation. If you want to put together what you think the first phase of the estimate is, I mean, go for it. Let's do that, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you so much. You too. Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, Shlomo, you there?
Yes, I am. Hi, Adam. Long time no
Hey,
see.
Adam. You're here.
I don't know if he's got audio or not.
We hear you. Just took it. How are you doing, Shlomo?
Doing good. Doing good. How about you and your family?
Baruch Hashem.
Good.
Baruch
Good to hear.
Hashem.
Is that about the shul? Is that coming along? I
Yeah.
forgot to ask about that and all the other stuff that's going on.
Yeah, we have yeah, that was the architect.
Oh.
That was the architect. It's good. They did some soil testing a couple weeks ago. The geologists, they came out with tractors and everything to dig 12-foot holes and send the soil off to a laboratory and this and that. So we got the results, and the architect was just going through it.
No Indian bones?
No, that's not what they were testing for. That's a separate.
Oh.
That's a separate thing. They sent us, I don't know, 50-page thing. It's good. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. Adam, can you hear us? No,
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, can you guys hear me?
Now I just unmuted you. Now we can hear you.
Okay, good. Yeah, hi.
Hi, Adam. Long time no see.
Yeah, hey Shlomo.
How you doing?
I was just thinking that.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. I just was learning Gemara earlier on today with one of my camp counselors.
Oh, good. Your family and everybody staying safe?
Yeah.
Good.
What are we learning? What, like myself?
Okay. We could have picked anything else. I thought to do this tiny little Mishnah and Gemara right here. You see it? You have it on the screen, right?
Yes.
I have a computer. Which one?
But do you see on the screen? You don't see?
I'm on my phone, so it's kind of small.
Oh, you're on your phone, so you can't. We have over here.
You'll still be able to see it.
Gemara Makos Daf Gimel Amud Aleph.
Okay. Yeah. Makos.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Punishments, penalties.
Sounds scary.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, we're here.
Can you magnify it by one level, maybe?
Sure. Maybe we can even do by 2. Let me. Let's see. How do we?
Especially for the Rashi, if you're going to do the Rashi. Okay. Oh, that's good.
Okay. Now let's see. How do we annotate? I'm learning all my.
I often will do this on PowerPoint, and then you can insert little text boxes. But if I'm not sure. Oh,
Okay.
wow. There you go. There you go. Okay, great. Way ahead.
So we're here on the Mishnah on the bottom. We'll see. Maybe we could even do this one in one shot, because you can see that the Mishnah is maybe 5 lines. You see my mouse too, right?
Yes.
And then there's the Gemara is only 2 lines.
Okay.
Okay. You ready for it? Adam, you want to start reading?
Sure.
Okay, I got to give you an introduction on this one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The introduction basically is that Makos is about different kinds of punishments. The first chapter of Makos is about it's about the Ir Miklat. You're familiar with the Ir Miklat?
Oh, yeah, the sanctuary city.
Sanctuary city for someone who inadvertently kills someone else. Okay. Oh, sorry. Actually, the first couple Mishnayos are actually, I'm sorry, the sanctuary city was later on. This was about, the first chapter is about something called Edom Zuman. Are you familiar with that concept?
With some kind of witnesses, but
they're witnesses. So Edom Zuman. Adam, are you familiar with Edom Zuman?
I know what a zoina is, like that.
No, not a zoina. Zoimim. Zamam.
What is that?
Zamam means plotting witnesses.
Oh.
So the Torah says that whenever you have 2 witnesses, 2 eyewitnesses that see something, what they testify to is taken as a fact. Right?
Yeah.
So now there is such a thing as people who lie. So you can have 2 witnesses who they testified, let's say that Ruvain owes Shimon $100. And then later on we find out that they testified that they saw Ruvain lend Shimon $100. And then later it comes out that that they could not have witnessed the transaction to take place because there are 2 other witnesses that testify you weren't there when you said you were there. You said that Ruvain lent Shimon $100 on April 29th, 2019. On April 29th, 2019, we were with you on a cruise ship in the Bahamas. Yeah?
Right.
Now, there's a difference. There's an important distinction to be made between two witnesses who say we saw. There's something called Edom Hamachishim says you have witnesses that are contradicting each other. You could have 2 sets of witnesses that say Ruvain owes Shimon $100, and then there are another set of 2 witnesses that say no, Ruvain does not owe Shimon $200. Or we saw what happened. You're saying that Ruvain lent Shimon $100. It wasn't Ruvain that lent Shimon $100. It was Levi that lent Shimon $100. So the what makes Edom Zuman, as opposed to just contradicting witnesses, is the idea that Edom Zuman are attacking the way that Edom Zuman become Edom Zuman is that the witnesses themselves are attacked.
So one, there's just the differences in one, there's just a disagreement. The other one, one pair of witnesses is accusing the other pair of witnesses of basically committing a crime of law.
Correct. So instead of disqualifying their testimony, they're disqualifying the witnesses themselves. right?
I think so, yeah.
Now the punishment for Edom Zuman is much more severe than the other case, because the other case is not even necessarily, you have two witnesses that are contradicting each other. Now it's these two guys' words against these two guys' words, as opposed to over here when you have two witnesses that are testifying that these first ones are liars, they're plotters, Zuman. That's a very severe accusation.
But now it's still their word against their word, right?
So this is why the Torah comes and tells us how it is, that you have two witnesses. The first two witnesses, what they say, and you always have this whenever you're taking people's word, it's their word against their word. But when two witnesses say that there is a truth, and then two more witnesses come and disqualify the first two, and there's actually a case, you can have 100 Edom Zuman. So the first two witnesses, they testify against Reuven and Shimon, and then there's a second set of witnesses that testify the first two witnesses, and then the third set of witnesses testified against the second witnesses, and the fourth set of witnesses. It could go on and on and on.
So it's whichever witnesses come last?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And we're assuming, the whole thing of testimony, it doesn't necessarily. I think there's actually something about this that as liars became more prevalent, it used to be a serious thing. When you would get up and testify and hold a chumash and say Hashem's name and you're testifying, testifying was a big deal. So it's easy to say now, oh yeah, there are lots of liars who would manipulate the system, but and that's why the system is not in place right now. But in a perfect world, this is how it works.
Well, when the Beis Hamikdash is here, it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, that's going to be a whole different world.
Right. So the punishment for Edom Zuman is that whatever punishment the victim of their plot was supposed to be punished with, they end up getting that punishment themselves. So if the two witnesses testify that Reuven owes Shimon $100, now the two witnesses have to pay Reuven $100. And there's a question in the Gemara: do they each pay $100, or do they each pay $50 so that Reuven gets it? So that's another question, but that's not what we're dealing with here. So if the two witnesses testified that Reuven killed Shimon, then the two witnesses are executed, even though Reuven was not yet killed yet. Reuven, there could be a case where they only become Zoinim after Reuven was executed, right?
If they find proof afterwards that it was not him,
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but now that case, actually, it's the opposite. Once there's a Gzeres HaKosov, the pasuk teaches us that after the victim is killed, after the victim is executed by the Beis Din, then the two witnesses don't get killed. But this is how severe Edom Zuman are, is that if they testified against someone that he did something that is punishable by death, and the same thing could be that the two witnesses testified that he broke Shabbos.
And so what happens then?
Then those two witnesses get executed.
Oh, right, because it's Chayav Misa if you break Shabbos.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever, and however the victim of these bad guys, whatever the victim was supposed to be punished with, that's what the witnesses end up getting punished with.
Now, did I hear you say even if there wasn't a murder? In other words, if it turns out later, Shimon shows up alive, but they had testified that that Reuven killed him, they still get executed.
If what?
If because I thought you said even if the murder didn't happen. In other words, if it turns out
no, if the execution didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
The court execution. So okay, so let's go into this case over here. Very interesting Mishnah. It says, Adam, you want to try reading it?
Sure.
Go for it.
Okay, so Me'idin Anu as ish pliny she gerash. What's gerash?
Gerushin.
Like Yerusha?
No. Gorash. Divorce.
Okay. So if witnesses testify that this person divorced,
Pliny. You know what Pliny?
Yeah, Joe Schmo.
Joe Blow.
What's Me'edin?
Adam?
like witnesses,
They testify.
Oh, from witnesses, of course. Okay.
Eden anu. We testify. Anu means we. We testify
Oh, that's a verb.
against ish Pliny.
that so and so divorced his wife. V'lo nasan la ksubasa v'haloi ben hayim.
Hold on. V'lo nasan la tubasa. Translate.
And he did not pay her the money that was promised to her in the ksuba.
Okay, so let's hold on for 1 second. What is a ksuba?
Marriage contract.
But it's a promise that if they get divorced, then he's gonna pay her this much money.
Correct.
Like that.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's in a marriage contract. If you get divorced, then you may
Or
pay.
if he dies.
Or if he dies. Okay.
It's actually the reason that the ksuba is something that was instituted by the Chachamim. It's not something midaraisa. It was instituted by the Chachamim. And the reason why they instituted it is because they did not want men to view women as disposable. That a man gets angry at his wife, boom, and then he divorces her. They wanted people to take it seriously, so therefore they put a price tag on it. Just know that when you're getting married, you're making a financial obligation that if for whatever reason you become not married anymore, you owe a significant amount of money to your wife. And now I think they say the amount of money, it's somewhere between like $5,000 and $10,000. So, it's real money. It's enough money that when someone's contemplating divorcing his wife, he'll think twice about it. Am I really that angry that I'm just gonna burn $10,000 to get, do I hate her that much? Tomorrow, am I gonna regret, throwing her a divorce today? I'm gonna have to pay the bill.
Is burning the soup worth it?
So the same thing that happens. The way that a ksuba would work, obviously, if they get divorced, so then the husband has to pay his wife. If he dies, then the way it works is that his money goes to the children, but then the children have to pay the ksuba. And if the children are too young, then the money goes into a trust, and the trust pays the ksuba.
This was in Rambam like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, good. I'm not with your Rambam. Shlomo, good idea. Get into Rambam. Learn Rambam with Adam.
Oh, I'd love to.
It's every day. It's opens your mind to the whole Torah. So we have a situation. So we have witnesses that are testifying that so and so divorced his wife and didn't pay her a ksuba. So what's unique over here about this case? And what's the difference between saying that Ruvain divorced his wife and did not pay her a ksuba, as opposed to saying that Ruvain borrowed $100 from Shimon or stole $100 from Shimon?
I assume they were just two different analogies. I didn't.
So over here, the Gemara is giving us a specific case that this individual divorced his wife and didn't pay her. Is there any substantive difference between this case and saying that he stole money or that he borrowed money?
No. Well,
he
promised money, I guess.
Good. You're on the right track.
That's all I got.
Isn't it a debt? It's a debt is a debt.
Yeah.
But the question is, did the witnesses establish the debt, or was the debt already established?
Wouldn't that be a question in both cases?
No.
Well, why not? If I said that I saw somebody lend him money, you could ask, well, did he really lend him money?
So if the witnesses are testifying that Ruvain married that this individual married his wife and then divorced her, so then they're the ones who are establishing they're the ones who are establishing the debt, and they're the ones who are establishing that it's time to come pay it.
Do you mean to say that the marriage itself is dependent whether the witnesses say they were married?
Well,
I assume we'd have
really
that.
what's happening with the case that it says over here is that an individual divorced his wife. So that's making the assumption that they were already married.
Yeah.
The witnesses are not testifying that they were married. Apparently, the whole world knows that they're married.
I would assume that, yeah.
Anybody who's married has this debt of $10,000 to his wife if they get divorced or if he dies.
I assume the kasuva, especially from its root word, means it's written down somewhere too.
Yeah. I could actually pull out mine. I'm not going to do it. I have it in the filing cabinet.
The shoresh means writing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So the point is that this case here would be more analogous. So go continue reading the Mishnah. And it's a question.
I know all the words, but I can't really piece it together.
It's not between the day
and yeah.
This individual who got married, he has the debt of $10,000 from the day that he got married. Whether the witnesses says that he got divorced today or whether he gets divorced in 10 years or whether he never gets divorced and he dies, he's always going to have that debt. The debt was not established by the witnesses. When the witnesses are testifying that Ruvain stole $100 from Shimon or that Ruvain borrowed $100 from Shimon, the witness is the one who's establishing the debt in the first place.
Yeah, but it's
establishing the hischayvus. Over here, the witness, the Edom Zuman, they're not establishing the hischayvus. The debt was already established from the time that he got married.
Okay, I see that.
The thing that the witnesses are doing is they're expediting the due date on the loan.
I mean, they're testifying to a situation which would trigger the. I mean, because what if? I mean, we're all Jewish, so we're assuming the man dies first. But obviously, he wouldn't have the debt if the woman died first.
Correct, and the Gemara is going to deal with that.
Okay.
But the point is, here's an interesting thing. A man and woman, a husband and wife, are not allowed to live in the same house without a ksuba. Okay? So that means you could have such a case. If someone went into my filing cabinet and took my ksuba and burned it up, then I'm not allowed to live in the same house as my wife until that ksuba is written. It is rewritten, and there's it's called a ksuba de irkasa for a ksuba that was lost. For replacing a lost ksuba, there's a whole separate verbiage that goes in there.
Does one not make more than one copy?
What?
Does one not make more than one copy?
I think because it's signed, it doesn't work by copies. It has to be the original. It has to be the original copy. So I actually have a friend who he found out a couple of years after he was married that the rabbi who officiated his wedding moved up on the ksuba. The ksuba was puzzle, so he was never allowed to be with his wife. And what he had to do is, number one, you need to schedule an appointment with the Rav to have the ksuba made over again. But until then, he actually had to give his wife cash or cash value, like jewelry. She had to have it in her possession. That the debt was actually, there's a security on that debt.
Now, what happens if they had kids in that time?
If what?
If they had kids in that time. Are the kids illegitimate?
No, it's never a question of illegitimate.
Okay.
Because they're married. they're married with a prohibition on being together.
Okay.
There's a big difference. So do you see where this is going?
I see the subtle distinction, but I don't see how it's significant myself.
It's a huge. What are the Edom Zuman establishing? They're establishing that instead of paying this debt in 10 years from now or 20 years from now, you have to pay
If ever.
What?
If ever.
But the thing is, even there's a certain scenario in which, in the case where the wife dies first, but then there is a scenario that he's not going to pay the debt at all, that the debt's going to be forgiven. But that doesn't mean that the debt's not there. The debt was not established by the witnesses. So when we say kasher zoman lasis la'achiv, that the Edom Zuman, when it turns out that they were plotting, they get the same punishment that they were trying to inflict on the guy that they're testifying against, right?
Right.
So over here, what should their punishment be? Should they should have to pay the $10,000? They didn't make him. They owe a $10,000.
They what?
Let me tell you a story. This is a story with Brian. He had a building in Las Vegas, a commercial building, with a loan on it, a loan of $1 million, and then it turned out that one of the tenants in the office building was a commercial dry cleaner, and it turns out that these guys were dumping the chemicals from the dry cleaner into the dirt in the back alleyway. They were dumping the stuff in the soil. So what happened was Brian came to a situation. The way commercial loans work is that you have to refinance every 10 years. So he was halfway through the deal. He had to refinance. They found out that his tenants destroyed soil, and what that created was a situation where the whole debt became due. He had to pay the whole balance of the property right then and there.
Really?
Because it was due and they couldn't get another loan on it. They couldn't renew the loan. So what are you going to say, that the tenants caused him damage of $1 million? They didn't cause him a damage of $1 million. The loan for $1 million for the building was taken 10 years ago.
Right.
So what they did, the damage they did damage, and however much it cost to clean up. But you can't say that they cost him $1 million. They made him pay the $1 million today.
That's a good analogy. Okay, I understand better. Very good.
You get that, Adam?
Yeah.
He always owed it every single day.
The $1 million he owned when he bought the building. So they messed him up. They made him the loan. Now the loan's due today. The loan should have been due in 10 years, and now the loan's due today. But they didn't make it. It didn't cost him $1 million, even though he has to pay $1 million today because of them. They didn't cost him $1 million.
Yeah. So when you decided to marry, that's what cost you that money.
The $10,000 was a debt. It was a loan that you took, a debt that you took on when you got married. When the witnesses are testifying that you divorced, now that debt is due today. It would have been due in 10 years or 20 years or never. It would have been forgiven, but you can't say that Edom Zuman actually cost him the $10,000.
I'm gonna say that it sticks in my mind a little bit, the fact that is much more conditional. It's conditional on a specific set of circumstances occurring for you to owe it, where in the case of the building, you owe it, maybe, okay, you don't know it right now, but you have possession of that building, you owe that building, because of the possession of the building, you owe that money.
That's a debt, who cares?
Well, but I mean, in the case of, it's not a debt. I mean, that's the thing, is in the case of the marriage, it's only a debt. I mean, we're saying it's a debt. I understand we're saying that, but it sounds like, but that really only happens under a very specific set of circumstances. Otherwise, if that's specific, like if she doesn't, I mean, if she dies first, right, you never have to pay that money, right? It's only if you leave her alone. It's only in that situation.
Correct. So now, Shlomo, you're the judge. Shlomo and Adam, you're the judges, and I want you to determine, you have these set of Edom Zuman. They testified that a certain individual divorced his wife. This man according to their testimony, was supposed his $10,000 ksuba to his wife became due upon their testimony, and then it became clear that these were Edom Zuman, who they were false witnesses in the first place, and Ruvain never divorced his wife. So now the Edom Zuman need to get the same punishment that they were trying to inflict on this husband.
So
how much
are they supposed to pay?
How much should they pay? I'm going to excuse myself. I need to go to the bathroom. Go talk it over for a second. Do you understand the question?
Well, not really. I mean,
you're the judge. How much should he pay? According to their testimony, the husband was supposed to pay $10,000 to the wife. Now it turns out that they were Edom Zuman, so they should pay the husband a certain amount of money. Should it be $10,000? Should it be less? Whatever they were testifying that the husband, whatever punishment the husband was going to get, that's what the witnesses now have to pay.
I don't see why it wouldn't be $10,000
or
whatever the ksuba was.
Would it be that they don't have to pay anything because it's like?
Go talk it over for a second. You get the question, so go talk it over now. I'll be back in a minute.
So I Adam from the way I see it is like, this is the thing that keeps sticking in my mind that bothers me, but that this guy could go his entire life and never owe any of that money, even though I don't quite get why we're already calling it a debt. But they could, if they die together or whatever, he doesn't owe any of that money. And so the fact that the witnesses said that he didn't pay it, I don't know if we're assuming that the divorce is also questionable, but he didn't know it before. I mean, he didn't really have to give her any money before, and now he does.
Well, I think that it is considered a debt from the day one. So from day one, so it's kind of like a half debt. So he automatically owes her $10,000 on the first day of the marriage, on the second day, the third day, and it's only due once he passes away, and it's forgiven if she passes away first. So I think it is a debt, but as to what the false witnesses would pay, I don't.
Yeah, so I guess the idea is if it's a debt that was already owed, then they didn't cause him to owe it.
Yeah. So he always owes it. Yeah, so that's why I would think that they wouldn't owe anything.
Well, he goes much faster than I do. Yeah, so Adam's poskening that they don't owe him anything.
And what are you poskening? And
I'm still I don't know. I understand by the definition you're giving that they would at least not be chayav for the whole thing, maybe, but it still seems to be that's money he might never have had to pay. Maybe he always had to owe it, but he might never have had to pay it until they came along. I don't know if we're in doubt about the divorce. Are the Edom also saying that are we depending on their testimony to establish that he's divorced, or we assume he's divorced, but they're just saying he never paid it?
No, they're establishing both things.
Both things.
They're establishing both things. I mean,
so like if I'm that guy, I'm going like, look, I would have went my whole life. Me and my wife were going to die together in as in old age in the bed together. That was my plan. So I would have gone my entire life without ever having to pay this until they came along.
So you say that. So Shlomo says that the Edom Zuman should pay $10,000, and Adam says that they shouldn't pay anything.
That assumes that the divorce actually happened, though. By the way, so that's where it gets complicated. That assumes the divorce obviously happened. It makes no sense to pay your wife $10,000 if she's still your wife.
But the point is that there's an interesting thing. There's something called a din kedima. You actually, it's funny. Now I've learned all these things in like the business world about a subordinate and a primary loan and a secondary loan, securing a loan. So
by the way, this is super fun. I just want to say that.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
Good stuff.
See, Adam, this is why what does the yeshiva bacher have to do with learning Gittin? Well, why is a bacher learning about Gittin? Because Gittin, it's the seichel behind it. It's not, you're not learning about getting divorced. This is nothing about marriage. This is technical stuff. It's not the whole kiddushin, the whole Gittin, the whole ksubis. It's all of this.
Yeah.
The main places, it says this in, I think it actually says it in the end of this Gemara, that the main, like, the beauty of the seichel of Torah is in Mamanis and Noshim. Mamanis is the monetary laws of the Gemara and also the marriage laws.
And so that's what we're doing right now.
This is a marriage law. It happens to be there's a Masechta Makos, but this is it's actually a hybrid. This is actually monetary and marriage.
I'm guessing that's why we start off with Bava Kama and
exactly. That's why in the Yeshiva Masechta that's what you learn. I learned this whole Masechta before Pesach. I've been learning a lot every day. For the last couple of months, I've been learning at least one blot of Gemara every day. Sometimes 2 or 3, but at least one. And I learned this whole Masechta right before Pesach, and like this Mishnah, I just loved it so much.
It's very interesting.
So here's the thing. The woman, her debt, she has what's called a din kadima on her debt. Whenever the bank is coming to give you a loan, right? The bank is going to look, well, what other loans do you have? Do you have anything else that has a lien on it? Do you know what a lien is, Adam?
It's not like a security, right?
A lien is a security.
Okay.
A lien means that lien, L-I-E-N. Lien.
Yeah.
A lien is let's say you have a house that you own yourself. You own the house yourself, and then, or you go to a pawn shop. In a simple case, you go to a pawn shop. And you say, I need a loan for $1,000. So they say, what do you have to secure the loan? And they say, oh, I have the security is I have a ring that's worth $10,000. Okay, we're gonna take the ring that's $10,000, and if you don't pay us back, we're gonna keep the ring.
Yeah.
So now what happens in a case? You can have one asset that has multiple liens on it, right? You can have a house.
Wait, so a lien is an object, or it can be an object,
no,
right?
A lien is the rights of the lender to take that property away. So a security usually means that the lender's in the possession. So in a pawn shop, you actually have to give the ring to the pawn shop in order to get the money. And then when you pay the money back with the interest, then they'll give you back the ring. But let's say you have a piece of property. So Herb Myers owns the property that the shul is on, and Chabad lent him $260,000. So we have a lien on the property. If he doesn't pay back the $260,000, we can take the property away from him, right?
Yeah.
You don't get full value of the property, right? You just do that until you can get your money back.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. It's actually Dan calling here. We're in the cloud shul. So what do we? So we have the first lien on the property. We owed $260,000. So the rest of the value of the property is his. We're entitled to $260,000 worth of that property. It could be that the property will become worth $100,000, and then our lien isn't worth anything.
Right.
Now, he could also go get another. He has more equity in the property. The property is worth more than $260,000. So he could go to the bank and say, I have a property that's worth $500,000. And the bank is going to say, well, are there any liens on the property? We don't want to lend you money if someone else has first rights to the land. So he's going to say, well, Chabad of Temecula has a lien on the property for $260,000, but the property is worth $500,000. It's worth $1 million. I want to take out a loan for $50,000. They'll say, okay, we'll take a secondary loan on, we'll give you a secondary loan on the property, and we're going to have a secondary lien. That means that if the property goes down in value, then you're only going to get if the property becomes worth only $260,000, so Chabad of Temecula has the first right to that property, to the money, the value of the property, and then the bank has the second right. And the bank is out of luck because they have if Herb can't pay it and the property went down in value, so then the bank is out of luck. Does that make sense? So they have secondary rights to the property. Now, as it relates to a ksuba, the reason why I told you this whole thing is because any other debts that the husband takes upon himself are all secondary to the ksuba.
So he has to pay back the money from the ksuba first,
Correct.
And whatever he has left over goes to the other debts.
So let's say that in 5 years from now he's going to get divorced, and his wife says, "Okay, I wanted $10,000." He says, "I'm sorry, I don't have $10,000 to give you." So she can go to anybody that borrowed money from him, anybody that has, anybody that borrowed money with a security, any property that he owned from the time that they were married has that lien on it. He cannot sell any property with her $10,000 lien is on every single thing that he owns.
So she can take
they were married.
So she can take from any of the people.
Even though someone 5 years ago, he bought a piece of property from him 5 years ago, tough noogies. At the time,
is that before the marriage too?
Sold the property to the buyer. The husband has to disclose there's a $10,000 lien on this property in the event that I get divorced.
Does that count for if the loan was before the marriage?
So if it was something that happened before the marriage, then no. It goes just like with any loan. Not the security, the debt from the husband to the wife is a real debt. That's why I went through this whole thing you see, it's a real debt. It's a debt just like any other debt. It happens to be a debt that maybe is going to be forgiven. Right now, you may have heard of the PPP. They're giving loans to the small businesses, and then there's a potential for the loan to be forgiven.
I guess that my only logical problem with that is, and the concept of forgiving the loan, is because it still just doesn't add up to me. Because you call it a debt, but I don't. If I'm the guy, I don't owe any money unless I leave my wife alone.
What?
I don't owe any money unless I leave my wife alone. However, that might have happened.
No. That's
because who do I owe the money to if we're still together?
No, you said it wrong. The idea is right, but the words you used were wrong. You don't have to pay the money unless you divorce your wife.
I know we're saying that. But who do I owe it? Who do I owe it to? I owe it to my married.
You can owe money that never ends up getting paid.
But all in that, in all of those cases, somebody received something for that money. You received land, or you received whatever, a diamond ring. But here, it seems it doesn't make any sense that I owe any money when I didn't leave my wife alone.
No, you're.
It means I owe money to my own wife who's still married to me.
The fact that you're.
Who do I owe it to? So before I divorce her, who do I owe it to?
Before what?
Before I divorce her, who do I owe it to? Her. What's that?
You owe it to her.
So I could anyway. I could just pay her $10,000 at any time, even before. Because even while she's still my wife, I owe it to. Because it's just hard for me to wrap my brain around that. I can accept it so we can move on. But
the Gemara is actually gonna get into this. The woman, let's say that the woman wants to buy a piece of jewelry. She could sell the rights to her ksuba to go to. She could take that note. There's a whole business of selling debts. You know, when you refinance a house and all these things,
sure.
The woman, if she wants, she could take her ksuba and sell it to a pawn shop to get money.
Why would a pawn shop ever, and I think you're right, it gets to the crux of this. Why would any pawn shop in the right mind take that, knowing that debt there's a good chance that debt would never need to be paid? Unlike all the others.
Very good. The pawn shop is going to want a discount. This $10,000 debt is not worth $10,000.
Okay.
You understand that, Adam?
Yeah.
Now, the reason why is it that when you go to the bank, they want interest? You're gonna bet you borrow for our house. We took a loan of $233,000 or $332,000, and by the time we're done paying it, we're gonna pay them back $500,000. They're making. Why do they want $200,000 for lending us the money? We're paying the bank $200,000 over the course of 30 years. We're paying them so much money for us to buy the house. Why do they want so much money for their interest?
Because otherwise it's not profitable. Or
otherwise I'd never be able to buy a house. There's value to having money right now.
Yeah.
What the bank is saying is that we're willing to have less money right now in order that later on you're going to pay us more.
Now, I still say that there's a quantitative difference because one is a matter of later, the other one is a matter of good chance it may never ever happen.
So
Good
then you're going
chance
to want
you
to
never
bet. So good. Okay. So let's go continue, and I think your problem, Shlomo, is going to be solved.
Okay.
But in the answer to the question, the answer is going to be, so how much do the Edom Zuman have to pay? They have to pay $10,000 or they have to pay zero? The answer is neither. They're going to have to pay somewhere in between. They're going to have to pay how much how much is it worth? What's the value of paying the $10,000 today as opposed to paying it maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, and maybe never?
Yeah, no, it's.
You understand that?
I do. I've got problems with it, but
Okay,
I mean, I got not with the. Okay, good. Let's go on. Lewis, sorry.
Okay, so continue. Whether today or whether tomorrow, the husband still has to pay the ksuba. It happens to be, there is that scenario where he's not going to pay the ksuba, but the point is that the debt would happen before the Edom Zuman. The Edom Zuman does not establish the debt. They establish the due date, not the debt. Right?
Yeah.
So the Gemara says, kama adam reitze litain b'ksubasa shel zu she'im nis almana oy nis garsha v'im mesa yirashena baila.
So they pay back how much someone would want to buy the ksuba for?
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a whole business, right? The way that business is, you buy low, sell high, right? Risk mitigation, right? You buy a pair of pants for $10 and you sell it for $20. Then you made $10, right? So now, and what are stocks? Stocks are, you're buying something now, today, you're buying it today for $100. Tomorrow, maybe it's going to be worth $1 million. Maybe it's going to be worth $10, right? So over here, what we need to do, oimdin. Oimdin means we appraise. This, by the way, is what my father does for a living.
The appraiser, yeah.
Oimdin, we appraise. Kama odam reitze litin biksubasa. How much will someone pay biksubasa for the ksuba shelzu of this guy? She'im nis almana or nis garsha. That in the event that they get divorced or that he dies, Yirashena, that this individual will end up taking the $10,000 debt.
Yeah.
Right? So what you'd have to say, let's talk in a real case. So Shlomo's saying, let's say that for argument's sake, let's say that there's a 50-50 chance that the husband's going to die first and a 50-50 chance that the wife is going to die first, right?
Of course, we're Jewish, so it's better than that, but
it's now it happens to be that statistically women do live longer than men.
And Jewish women live way longer than Jewish men.
So, but for argument's sake, let's just say that there's a 50-50 chance that each one of them is going to die first, right? So that means that if a pawn shop is looking to purchase the ksuba, to purchase the rights to the ksuba of this woman, the woman has a debt that's worth $10,000, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Now the thing is, the pawn shop is going to say, well, maybe you're going to die before your husband, and if you die before your husband, then there's a 0 chance that we're going to get the money, right? We're not getting anything. So your ksuba is, if it's a 50-50 chance, your ksuba is for sure not worth more than $5,000 today. It's called present value. You're discounting the future, right? So your ksuba is for sure not worth more than $5,000 today, because maybe you're never going to pay it. There's a 50-50 chance. So for a 50-50 chance, I'll give you $5,000. I'll be willing to bet $5,000 that maybe I'll get $10,000, right? But then it's even more than that, because I would pay $5,000 for a 50-50 chance. If I was going gambling, if I was going to Vegas, I would pay $5,000 for a 50-50 chance that I'm going to get $10,000, right?
Assuming that. Not sure I would, but okay.
If someone was in that business, so that for argument's sake. But now that's if I'm going to get $10,000 today.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that I'm going to get $10,000. Maybe you're going to get divorced, and maybe the husband's going to die. And so there's the value of it. How much is it worth if he dies tomorrow? How much is it worth if they get divorced tomorrow? How much is it worth if he dies in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, in 50 years? So we have to take into account how much does the value go down each day, each year, in the probability based on how long we think he's going to live, or what the probability of their marriage is. We need to take into account what's the divorce rate. We need to take into the account what's the life expectancy.
Do you take specifics into account? In other words, do you look at their marriage?
Absolutely.
You look at how healthy they are?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly. How much would a life insurance? What would the life insurance company say? They have statistics on all this stuff. So, in other words, someone who's in the business of buying ksubas is going to get an appraiser to figure out how much this ksuba is worth today. If you were to take the ksuba with all the risks that are involved, that there's the risk that maybe it will never be paid, with the risk that maybe it will be, maybe even if it is paid, it might be in 20 years, in 10 years, in 5 years, in 2 years. And you have to take all that together and figure out, it could be that someone is only willing to pay $10,000 for the rights to that ksuba today. And that $1,000, that's how much the Edom Zuman are going to have to pay.
So assuming that the divorce is not established, because you said we're also taking the account, the word that they're also testifying the divorce.
The truth is that they never got divorced, right?
Right. So he wouldn't have to pay, Reuven wouldn't have to pay anybody. Right.
Correct. No, in truth, Reuven doesn't have to pay anybody. I mean, he has the ksuba that he still owes his wife, but
he doesn't have to pay anything because they're not really divorced, right?
Correct.
Okay, I think I'm understanding this better now.
Adam, do you get it?
I think so.
So what we're trying to do, the Edom Zuman only have to pay the present value of the ksuba, which is significantly discounted. We said it's $1,000. How much would someone pay for the ksuba? I would say probably, how much would someone pay for my wife's ksuba? I mean, you'd probably only pay $100 for it. I'll give you $100 for all the, if you're older, maybe I'll pay a little bit more. But given all the risks that are involved, how much would someone be willing to pay for the rights to that ksuba today? That's how much the Edom Zuman were going to make the husband lose.
In other words, it would be worth $5,000 if they knew they were going to get it. If they knew that 50-50 chance that dice was rolled that day.
Correct.
But since the 50-50 chance, there could still be a 50-50 chance 20 years from now. So that's why it's less than $5,000.
Well, not only that, even let's say, even if we knew that there was 100% chance that the husband's going to die first, you still wouldn't get $10,000.
But it'd be way more than 1,000 though at that point.
Right. You're correct.
And maybe more than 5,000.
But
it would just be less than 10,000.
It would for sure be less, because how much would I pay for the guaranteed rights to $10,000? The rule of thumb in the investment world is that you want your money to double in 10 years. So if I know And if I know that she's going to die, that I'm guaranteed that $10,000 in 10 years, I would be more or less willing to pay $5,000 today for money that I'm going to get in 10 years. If I'm going to get it in 20 years, I'd only pay $2,500, right? But then take into account that there's only a 50-50 chance, then it puts everything even lower.
But yeah, if that guy's got heart disease and diabetes,
Exactly.
then okay, it makes a lot of sense.
So now the Gemara is going to make it even more complicated. We didn't even start the Gemara yet.
The only thing is I've only budgeted about an hour of my time today. I mean, it doesn't mean you guys can't. What time are we at?
So you know what? I think we can finish it in 5 minutes.
Okay, great.
Kate, you see where we are? The beginning of the Gemara.
Yes. By the way, this is also a much easier format than doing it in real life because you can't do this in person.
What? Do the right on the screen?
Right on it, and I can't see it this well, and I don't know if I'm on the same place as you're on the same place. This is great.
Hashem? Ketzad Shamin. How do we appraise it? Amar Rav Chizda Bebal. Rav Nasan Bar Oishia Omer Beisha. So you have two ways to sell the ksuba. The wife could sell the rights to maybe collect the $10,000, and the husband can sell the rights today. He can buy the rights to not pay it.
Okay. Buy the rights.
And that Adam.
Yeah.
Someone could say,
so he'd buy it from his wife?
No. So I'm like thinking through this in my head right now because it's complicated. This is like twist your brain a little bit. The husband, there are people, by the way, there are whole businesses. Nat Rubenfeld, by the way, you know Nat, Adam, you know Nat.
Yeah.
My face.
This is the business that he was in. He was in the business of buying debts. He's a debt collector. A debt collector, he buys debts. So the debt collector, the guy, the businessman who's looking to buy a debt.
It's an ancient Jewish business, by the way.
Yeah. It's funny. There was a guy in Toronto who interesting story. He was also in the same. Over there, it's called a bankruptcy trustee, but it's the same thing as debt collector. So what he does, this guy, he's going to come. The wife could say, I'm willing to sell. I'm going to sell the rights to my ksuba to you. Let's say it's worth $1,000. Then there's also the scenario where the husband is going to
he'd have to do the opposite. He'd have to sell the debt, which means give somebody money.
Right. So he's gonna pay someone else.
You have to pay his wife.
Not his wife. What he's doing is he's gonna say to someone else, I'm willing to pay you $1,000 today. You'll get the $1,000 today in the event that
you assume the debt.
In the event that, and you assume the debt. In the event that I die before my wife, you're going to have to pay the $10,000, or we get divorced, you'll have to pay the $10,000. But if she dies before me, you won't have to pay anything, and you'll profit the $1,000 that I'm paying you today. Now, with the Gemara saying, there's the value on that ksuba is going to be different if the wife is selling it as opposed to if the husband's selling it.
Yeah.
Because one you're getting money right away and one you're not.
Well, either way, either you're paying money right away or you're receiving money right away. But the probabilities are also different.
But I would think the one getting the money, in other words, that would be less money when the husband has someone buy his debt. Is that right?
What?
So the amount of money, the transaction would be lower if the husband has someone buy his debt than is if the wife sells it. Is that? 50-50 chance, I figure. But it kind of makes sense to me.
Okay. Oh, darn it. It moves when I move.
Oh, it does. How great. Or it doesn't. No, it doesn't. No, that's too bad.
So the woman, in the case, the woman's appraisal is going to be a higher appraisal value than the husband's.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Now, why?
Because at least this is what it seems to me, the guy who buys the debt from the husband is getting money in the pocket right now. Whereas when the woman sells it, well, she's getting money, but the person who's buying it takes risk, may never get anything. In the case of the husband, he takes no risk because he's already getting, well, he takes a possible risk of paying money later, but he pockets money right now.
It's safer, right?
Yeah, it's that way.
Gosh.
Like I come to you, let's say you're Reuven here, and I come to you, and let's say let's say it's $10,000 with your wife, and I say, okay, I'll buy that debt from you. You got to give me $1,000. Now maybe 50 or 75 years from now, I'll owe $10,000. But right now, I got $1,000 in my pocket. Where the other way is if your wife goes and says, look, I need some money now. So I'm going to sell you my ksuva. Give me money now. So that person is having to fork money out.
Right.
And so I should get less because I have the advantage of getting money in my pocket right now.
Right. Right. Assuming the same risk,
you
have the advantage of the $1,000 for 10 or 20 or infinity years.
Yeah.
So here you have a machloikis of so first the way that we started the conversation, we weren't sure. We said, okay, Edom Zuman need to be punished with the same thing that they were plotting to make the victim of their plot pay, right? So they wanted the husband to pay $10,000. So we thought, oh, maybe they should pay $10,000. But on the other hand, maybe they shouldn't pay anything because they didn't establish the debt. The debt was there anyways. Comes the Mishnah and says, no, you're appraising how much that $10,000 is worth today.
Let me ask. Oh, go ahead. Finish your point.
And then the Gemara is adding, well, there are two ways of appraising how much the $10,000 is worth today, because there are two different perspectives. If you're looking from a buyer's perspective, or if you're looking from a seller's perspective.
But in this case, we're looking at a specific perspective because it's the husband who is in question here.
Well, I would think that's why Rav Nosson, that's why Rav Chizda probably says by the husband, because the Edom Zuman are the one who are attacking the husband.
Yeah.
So they're making it as if the husband was selling, and then there's got to be some other reason why Rav Nosson Bar Oishia says that you appraise it from the woman's perspective. But at any rate, there are definitely two ways of appraising how much that $10,000 debt is worth today.
Let me clarify one other question too, because and that is, so about establishing the legitimacy of the divorce. This would not apply if the following circumstances, and there's a question. So let's say they really did get divorced. That's not a question. Nobody disputes that. But Reuven says, I paid her already. And the Edom said, no, you didn't. And then we find out they were lying.
So you go figure out what would the...
That's got to be 10,000.
What?
That's got to be 10,000, right?
No.
Because I paid her, look, I paid her 10,000 already. I'm saying last week I paid her $10,000.
No. If he said that he already paid it, if the truth was that he already paid the $10,000, and
they came and said you didn't pay it.
The Edom Zuman said, that he did not pay, the only thing is, it would
And
be
that's like that's like your first analogy. Then it's all about, okay, we know they got divorced. Did he pay it or not? So now it's all about $10,000 because I did pay 10,000.
You're right, but that's a very, very unlikely case. And the reason is because it's very easy to say that I was witness to someone getting divorced. But to say that I was witness to someone not paying.
Well, but it's the first case. It's the first case of Reuben owed Shimon money. It's that case.
No, but the difference is if I witness Reuven borrowing $100 from Shimon, or I witness Reuven stealing $100 from Shimon, so then I witnessed a certain thing. It only took 1 minute to witness that. But for someone to testify that we all know that he got divorced a month ago or 10 years ago, and I'm testifying that he did not pay. How can you testify that he didn't pay?
But then that would apply to the Reuven and Shimon case too, right?
No.
If Edom said that Reuven didn't pay, Reuven could say, "How do you know I didn't pay? You weren't with me every second of the day. How can you make that case?"
Oh, no. Because if it's established that Reuven borrowed money from Shimon, and then you're saying you didn't pay it back, so then they have to say, oh, well, we were with him 24/7 for the last 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 10 years. That's a very hard thing to say. But if witnesses are the ones that are establishing the debt in the first place, that never happened. They're saying we were witness to Reuven borrowing $100 from Shimon. It only took 5 minutes.
And I agree with all that. So what I'm saying is that is the exact analogy. The divorce is the loan. And so the divorce is analogous to the loan in the first case. So, in other words, if we already established that the loan was there and we already established that the debt was there, then the Reuven and Shimon case with the loan, they would have that same difficult burden to prove. If the Edom say Reuven never paid it back, right? That's very hard to establish.
Well, if we
in
know
the same way as the ksuba.
Not if they're still married.
No. Everybody agreed we got divorced. We got divorced 1 month ago.
Yeah.
Or Reuven paid Shimon money 1 month ago. And then now the Edom come in both cases and say Reuven and Shimon never paid that money, or Reuven never paid the ksuba. It's the same thing. However you adjudicate it, I don't know, because I don't know how you adjudicate witnesses saying you never paid it. That's where we agree on that. I don't know how they make that claim, but I'm just saying that it's once the divorce is established, it becomes the same analogy, I think.
Correct.
Okay. This is great stuff, Rabbi. I got to go, but I'm really looking. Was there one final point, or because I'm hoping we can take it, continue it from where we left off.
Yeah, I think next time we'll find something else. We'll try to find like small pieces, small bite-sized pieces that maybe next week someone else might want to jump on. But it's good conversation. It's good.
Absolutely is.
Mind exercises.
Absolutely. And we learned some ethics there too. So it's not just, I try to look at it, not just intellectual stimulation.
All righty.
All right. Thank you so much, Rabbi. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really enjoyed it.
Of course.
Good job, Shlomo.
Good to see you too, Adam.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Here. Adam, you can.
Okay. Yeah. I need to go back to doing homework.
Go work.
But this was good. I'm guessing next Wednesday also?
Yeah.
Okay. Then.
Good deal, no?
Yeah. It worked out good. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Okay, bye.
Take care.